People, Power, and Politics with Fred Towle, 103.9 LI News Radio.
Welcome back to People, Power, and Politics on LI News Radio 103.9 FM. And we're broadcasting live from Islip MacArthur Airport on this rainy, cold, feels like winter. It does not feel like May afternoon, I must tell you. I am your host, Fred Towle, and we're pleased to have in the studio and welcome back John and Artie from the Suffolk County Deputy Sheriff's Union. About a week or two ago, we had them on and we broke down the issue and problems that their union has been facing over the last 6 years without a contract for their 250 plus members, a memorandum of agreement where the union gave givebacks and was given new responsibilities. This county executive, Steve Bellone, took away those responsibilities and then did not return the givebacks. And a lawsuit ensued in the state court, and a second lawsuit is now in place in federal court. And as we mentioned in the last segment, the deputy sheriffs had protested at the State of the County message that County Executive Bellone had last week. Good number of legislators did not walk the picket line or cross the picket line to go in and hear the speech, which I found amazing. I am very proud to see legislators did do that. I must say that it's probably one of the first times I can remember in history that so many legislators missed the State of County address and were outside the building protesting the executive. It's good to see that the legislators are, finally starting to take, vocal and verbal and, administrative action, maybe to force the county executive to get to the bargaining table. John, you mentioned before on the break when we were talking about the letter that the letter said that they were going to move to give back the money, which if that happens, that's obviously a good thing. It suggested that they had been bargaining in good faith. I mean, that's delusional. Obviously, the chief deputy county executive must not have been properly informed of the process that has taken place. What else did he talk about in the letter, or that pretty much was it?
Well, they also state that the administration is going to seek to proceed to interest arbitration. So now,
what does that mean, interest arbitration? So
now you will have both parties now will go before an arbitrator, and the arbitrator will impose a settlement. And again, this was the justification for negotiating the long-term deals, starting with the Suffolk County PBA. And looking back from 2012, this is a quote from the County Executive Steve Bellone in regards to the Suffolk County police contract. He wrote, "This agreement, short of eliminating the broken arbitration system, represents the best possible way to protect the taxpayers over the long term." So now we have a complete change in stance when it comes to one bargaining unit only, which is the DSPBA. The second thing is, this municipality cannot impose arbitration on us. That is a right that we have. We can file for arbitration, but they can't impose it on us. So we will not participate in arbitration. And if we have to go 7 years without a contract, 8 years without a contract, we would rather have the conditions in place before we will have negative things imposed upon us, only to get because the max that we can get out of an arbitration is a 3-year settlement. So once this process were to go through, which would take at least a year, we would be right back where we started. We'd be right back out of a contract. So what sense does it make for the county then to say, well, we're at an impasse and we think we should go to arbitration? How does that solve the problem?
It would seem to me that if, based on that information, that the point of reaching an impasse would have been at the 3rd year, not at the 7th year.
Correct.
So that you could have taken that year to go to arbitration. They could have backdated the contract, which is what it would normally happen. They would do a contract for the 3 preceding years, or the 3 prior years, rather. And you'd be back to no contract again, but at least it would cover the 3 years that you're there. Right. Basically, what happens now under this scenario is that you'd have a contract for 3 years, which would take you to 2012, but from 12 to 16 you'd have no contract, or would they just zero out The 4 years.
Right. You would still be out of contract, and those years would have to be addressed. So it simply doesn't make any sense. If you've allowed it to go on this long of us being without a contract, why not simply negotiate it? To now want to file for arbitration, which they can file for it, but we're not going to participate in it. It doesn't make any sense. If you're the county executive, show some leadership and address this issue.
Let's assume that they move forward. Do you have to participate in order for it to be valid, or can they do this on their own?
They cannot, yeah. They can file for it, but we're not going to participate in it. And like I said, it cannot be imposed on us.
Right. So that just basically, you're then just basically forcing him to the table where he's got to come to the table and negotiate.
Correct.
Now, let me ask you a question, John. We don't want to obviously negotiate in the media, as he's been doing. We've had you on more so to explain what's going on so that all the information not only gets out to your members, but gets out to everyone else who works for the county or our listeners. But, hypothetically, we're looking at a 6-7 year lag on a contract. You obviously want to continue job protection. You want to have opportunities for your members to advance and move forward. You'd obviously want to look at some salary increase over the period of 7 years, but I think you'd also would take into consideration the finances of the county and the conditions they have. And you'd obviously like a contract not only to cover the 6 years or 7 years that you'd been without a contract, but also a contract to move you forward. Those would seem to me, I'm not negotiating your contract, but those would seem to me to be the 3 or 4 or 5 highlighted items. Is there anything else that would be important to the deputies, beyond that?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to be, most of our career, deputy sheriffs have been without contracts. So it would be a nice thing that if we could settle this agreement to have it go through 2018, we can actually be in contract and concentrate on issues that affect our members. It shouldn't be a constant battle with the county executive just to have this issue brought to the forefront. And that was why we had to, do these protests and stuff like that to make him concentrate on what's going on here. It shouldn't be that, we're constantly just brushed aside. We're just asking to be treated like he treated all the other unions. And but as far as what we're asking for and the things that we're negotiating. Now at this point they say they want to protect the taxpayers, but when you look at deputy sheriffs are paid out of the general fund tax. So when you look at your tax bill, we're not paid out of the police district tax. It's out of the general fund. So anything that we're asking, you're not going to see a huge tax increase for 250 people. So for them to say that, this is a great deal for the taxpayers, I don't know how they say this with a straight face. It simply doesn't make any sense. You can negotiate with us fairly and get a deal done and take this off your plate.
Yeah, you guys, don't seem to be unreasonable to me in that, you understand the county's finances, you understand your members, you understand the needs. Everybody talks about job protection. That's no state secret. Everybody talks about wanting to be able to advance their careers and make better money. That's, again, no secret. Everybody understands the county's financial condition. All one needs to do is try to go do something in the county of Suffolk and see that the office is closed or understaffed or they're 8 weeks behind or the job's not getting done at all or the person's on vacation and you have to wait till they come back because there are people that are not cross-trained, or, you call for a camping site and the site's booked because, they're using this automated system and people just book things and there's no rhyme or reason to things, or, the county just does not seem to want to be user-friendly, not only to the public, but to its employees. You look at the, Deputy Sheriff's Union, you look at AIM, as we talked about, 1,000 layoffs, yeah, they have a contract. You look at the college employees, the community college, they've been without a contract for almost as long as you've been without a contract.
Yes.
And if not, maybe a little longer, actually. And the money is in the college budget for their contract. Right. The money's actually there. The trustees put the money within the budget. They're jacking tuition fees up at the college. As I said, the deal has gone awry on the infirmary, and that hasn't materialized. all types of tax issues, sales tax and what have you. If the county were to do its, raise taxes, which I said to somebody the other day when we were talking about the county budget, if they were to stay within the cap and to raise things up to that 2%, they generate like $1 million, which is nothing. In an overall county budget of, billions, I think it's 155 billion or more. It just, to me, it just seems like it's costing them more in the end to justify the actions of what they're doing. They fought you legally and now they're going to give you back the $4 million. What was the point of fighting you illegally? What was the point of spending a couple $100,000 on outside attorneys? What was the plan or the thought behind, destroying the morale of the officers, the deputy sheriffs throughout Suffolk County, men and women? What was the purpose of all that exercise? In the end, if you've lost the court battles, you're going to continue to lose the court battles, and you're spending tons of money to defend a position that's undefendable.
Right, they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to litigate this issue instead of negotiating it. And one of the other things we found very strange was you have the county executive attends a protest for the communication workers, and obviously as a union we support them and we hope that they have a speedy resolution. And it's a terrible thing for them to be out on strike. But he attends a protest for the communication workers. And he's standing there with his bullhorn and giving him his America is Great speech. But employees, county employees,
in his own house,
who are out of contract for 6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it just simply doesn't make any sense. And you have his statement when we protested his inauguration was, well, they're out there protesting and using these other tactics that simply aren't going to work. Well, if they're not going to work for us, then why would you attend a protest for the communication workers?
Yeah. I mean, his whole speech, I must say that I've listened to probably a good dozen State of the County speeches in my lifetime of governmental service and career. And I must say that, he comes forward with this water tax, call it whatever you want. It's a tax in the end, $1 on 1,000 gallons of water to promote the development of sanitary systems in Suffolk County and or to acquire properties. To keep them, environmentally protected, whatever the case may be. Here's a county who has rated those exact type of funds before for budget problems. You don't have any of the major unions standing up saying this tax is a good idea. As I mentioned, the Water Authority is going to come on the show later in the week or next week, and we're going to talk about this. They haven't endorsed the proposal, as they've told me. You've got a good number, if not a majority, of your own legislature against it. You've got the majority leader of the state Senate against it, and he's got to carry legislation to make this happen. You've got environmental groups that have gone silent. You've got DMV fees that have not been collected, a $40 million hole. He's fighting with you guys as part of the story. I mean, the state of the county appeared pretty bleak. It did not appear positive. It did not appear upbeat. It did not appear well. And, he got some coverage on these things, but it's almost like it was a flash in the pan, to kind of distract the public, the media, the officials from your plight. It was almost like he had taken, I wonder if this concept of the water tax was something that came up at the last minute, or was it something that's been part of his, agenda all along? Because it seems the rollout on that was really done poorly, in that they didn't have people lined up to support it. So I kind of think the letter to you, the leaking of the letter, the rollout of this, water tax protecting and sewers, I think that they thought that would, generate more media, better media coverage for them and kind of push your issue further and further down the pike of primetime news. And that didn't work out so well, because he's now getting beat up on the water issue, and your issue is still forefront.
Correct.
And you've got people on both sides of the aisle. I mean, Kevin was a Republican, but, there are Democrats that didn't walk in the room. There's Republicans that didn't walk in the room. I mean, what legislators were out there with you, marching?
We had Legislator Tom Silmy, Legislator Leslie Kennedy was there as well. Obviously, Kevin McCaffrey. We certainly understand that he wanted to be there to do the rebuttal from the Republican side, but he stood with us for a long time. Kate Browning could not be there, but her aide stood with us, Josh Slaughter, the whole time. So I think it's very telling when you have legislators that chose not to sit in on the State of the County address, and because of our issue, and we're certainly very thankful for that.
Yeah, and John, I believe Supervisor Romaine reached out to you prior to that?
Yes, absolutely. The supervisor from Brookhaven Town, also Ed Romaine, did not attend as well for the same reason.
Yeah, I mean, Ed's great. He's a town official, and he's still muddling and mickering around in issues with the county. I love it. Doesn't matter what issue it is. If Ed's got an opinion, he'll let you know. That's for sure. Right. We have another guest in our next segment that I'd like to welcome and join us. Suffolk County Democratic Chairman Rich Schaefer, who's also a former county legislator and supervisor of the town of Babylon, and just a great guy. We appreciate Rich joining us. Rich, how are you?
Good. Good afternoon. How are you guys?
I am doing excellent, Rich. How are you on this lovely Monday afternoon in Babylon?
Not bad. It could use a little more sun, but we're doing okay.
Yeah, we got to get on that. Can't we form like some bipartisan committee to try to improve the weather? I mean, I want to volunteer. It's just,
you'll be the first member.
Yeah, I mean, it's just terrible. It's like I feel like I'm in the winter and it's May.
Yes, we've only gone through winter and summer from the last few seasons.
Yeah. So we're obviously talking about the plight of our friends, the deputy sheriffs.
Yep. Yeah, it's a shame that it's gotten to this point. They work hard. They provide an outstanding service. John Becker is a very reasonable leader of the deputy sheriff's union. I have, from my county days, I have experience with working with the deputy sheriff's union. And thought over the past couple of years that a lot of the issues that both the county and the union had were resolved. In fact, at one point, maybe about a year and a half ago, I thought that they actually had an agreement. Unfortunately, the county executive's office has not been able to put that over the top, and now we're left with this kind of chaos where you've got union members trying to, make their point and defend themselves, and have to put a lot of people in a very awkward and difficult position, because I think, I know at least from the Democrats' standpoint on the legislature, they support the deputy sheriff's union, and they didn't feel comfortable having to walk past them. In fact, I know a number of them went over and spoke to the members who were outside the state of the county. I attended as the town supervisor from Babylon, but I did speak to John and Todd and a number of the members before I went in there, and told them that I was rooting for them and hoping that they would be able to get this figured out. I think the interesting part was that the county executive on, I think that day or maybe the night before, actually gave in to the request that the union's been making for the $4 million that they've been owed. And, of course, I told John, make sure you see the check first.
Yeah, I told him make sure the check clears, to be very honest with you.
You got it. And so that has to be the case, and I don't know where that's at this point, but I think that, again, that's a first step in trying to get this back on track and get it resolved. And I'm hoping that cooler heads prevail, out of the county executive's office, and that they're able to do just that.
Yeah, that's a big step. If that in fact happens and that money does come back, that's a big step. And Rich, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. We only have like 2 minutes left, but Steve Ballone's a nice guy. I know the guy personally. I've known him for a long time, but it just seems like he's disconnected from some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. I don't really know. I know I speak to a number of his people all the time. You'd have to ask. Maybe you invite him on your show tomorrow and ask him that.
I have. I've told them I would treat him nothing but as a gentleman, but I just can't get them to accept an invitation. I guess they're scared of the old bear. I don't know why. You've been on a couple times, and we've never had a crossword in all the time that I've known.
And you're professional, Fred, and that's the way it should be, because your listeners want to get both sides of the story, and that's important.
Yeah, I just, if you get the opportunity to talk to them, you tell them to pick the place, the time, the date, whatever they'd like. I'll have lunch set up. He can come in here. he will be treated nothing but as a gentleman.
Sure, I definitely will, and I think that would be important for them to get their side of the story. Because as we always say, there's always three sides to the story.
Yeah, we just got to get these poor men and women done with this. 6 years without a contract is crazy.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree.
Rich, we really appreciate you calling in today. I know you have a really busy schedule, and we appreciate you joining us.
No problem. Thanks a lot, Fred.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Rich.
Thank you, Rich.
It's always great to have the Suffolk County Democratic Chairman and Babylon Town Supervisor on, a very reasonable person. Hopefully, with him in your camp, your message will get delivered.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you coming on. We'll definitely have you back on. Keep us posted. You're listening to People, Power, and Politics here on LI News Radio 103.9 FM. I want you to have a great day. I am not going to be in here Tuesday and Wednesday. Tom Scholero is covering for me, but I will be back with him on Thursday. Chris is giving me the sign. Chris, I got to take some time off. I got stuff to catch up on, brother. Christmas shopping early. All right? Have a great afternoon. Try to stay dry, and looking forward to talking to you on Thursday.